Subtract is an artist who dropped their debut album in 2011. It is time for another decade later. I don't know if this is the final one of the year. I may squeeze one in before the year is over, but I don't want to promise anything because there's a good chance that this is the last one of the year, because I don't really keep to this series very closely. It's not biblical, you know. I do like doing this series, but for some reason I just fall off it for like a month and then don't do it for like sometimes even 2 months, 3 months maybe. But this is a worthy one to talk about because I feel like it's become a bit of a relic of its time, in the sense that not many people bring it up as much as they used to. I think there's been a lot of electronic albums since this has come out, you know, albums that are dabbling in future garage, UK bass type stuff, electro pop, even various other genres that Subtract is dabbling in on this album. And people would probably argue that it's been done better, but I you know what, I think this is a quality album. I think the sound design on the opening track, Heat Wave, is gorgeous. I think the skittery two-step speedy beat, I think it sounds great, and then the vocals come through and they sound wonderful over this instrumental. Everything just kind of whooshes together and melds in quite a lovely way. There's just something so well put together about this track that I just feel immediately Subtract sets the tone for what he's capable of doing. He brings in the vocals, he brings in these two-step beats, and it all sounds great. And then immediately after that, he shows us that he can bring on Sampha as basically an honorary guest of the whole album. For half of this album, Sampha appears, and I do not want it any other way. An eternal tune Hold On is, by the way. I hope you know it. This song is living on forever. It will never sound a day old. I think the instruments sound crisp, sound raw, they sound absolutely oof. Sampha's vocals sound luscious as hell. I think it's a xylophone that carries the core melody of this track. I'm pretty sure it's a xylophone, and oh wow, it is to die for. Everything about this track is just pitch perfect. Oh my goodness. One of the best tracks of 2011, one of the most essential kickstarters to anyone's career, really, meaning Sampha. I mean, to bring yourself with a song like this to kind of set your career up is game changing. Like, how good did he manage to just do this for a feature? He did it perfectly. I think he sets the tone for much of these tracks. I think Sanctuary as well really brings a great vocal performance on this one. I think this track honestly could do with a bit of a shorter introduction. I think this section runs on a little bit long before we actually get to Sampha's voice, but it sounds super starry. It sounds cinematic as hell, like something from the final Daft Punk album that we got in 2013. Although, are they coming back? Did they say they'd drop another one or something? Is that happening? No, did they break up? One of the two. They were very two different things. I cannot remember for the life of me. I think they broke up. They did, didn't they? Well, whatever planet they came from, Subtract was pulling from that planet with this instrumental for sure. I will say Trials of the Past is a good track as well, but I think it pales in comparison to some of the greater moments that Sampha brings to the table across this album, to be fair. But then we also have Jessie Ware, who's getting introduced to this album too, and Right Thing to Do. I do have to wonder if this was something that Disclosure had heard before they made their Settle album, and they thought, you know what, the perfect voice for one of our tracks has got to be Jessie Ware, because she just kills it on Right Thing to Do. And obviously before this, she wasn't really a very well-known artist. So I've got to pay massive respects to Subtract for bringing these two British names out of nowhere and probably putting them on the map. I mean, I don't know how much influence this album had in the grand scheme of music, but I do kind of have to sit here and think, were there musicians that had heard this album and thought, oh, you know what, we could definitely, you know, give some of these artists a go on our album too, because they killed it on this album. But everyone starts somewhere, and if you're starting at Right Thing to Do with a banging bass line like that, and you are absolutely killing the hell out of your vocal performance and basically giving everyone a club banger, then Jessie Ware, my friend, yeah, you did good. Pharaohs is a big electro pop tune as well. I don't know the vocalist that well for this track, but god damn, she sets the scene here, doesn't she? She really brings out the best moments of those electro pop classic tunes. I'm immediately thinking of someone like Kylie Minogue that could do this, or even a Roisin Murphy as well. These could definitely fit on this kind of song. So the variety of sounds on this album as well. I've name dropped so many different kinds of genres, artists, and yet it's all fitting into one album. Subtract really did a good job. That is without even mentioning Little Dragons feature on Wildfire. How kooky is this one? This one is insane. The animated vocals, the really otherworldly instrumental. The whole thing sounds like it came from a bloody Adventure Time episode. You know how weird and wacky those episodes were? That was a crazy show, and I feel like anything that would birth out of that show, it would have to be this song. Peculiar as hell, but my god, it bangs so hard. It bangs so hard. It bangs even harder than the track Go Bang. And you'd think the track called Go Bang would bang harder than anything. And it's okay, but it's just not as exciting as some of the other tracks. And what's interesting about this album is I do think actually a couple of these instrumental tracks don't actually live up to the best moments on the album. And, you know, it's weird because so much of this album is taken up by Sampha and other features as well. And the separate instrumental tracks, which I'm not even, against, I'm not even negative towards. It's just impressive that they actually don't live up to what Subtract is actually here to do. Subtract is here to make songs like this, but the vocalists are just so good that they take up such a portion of the album and they steal quite a bit of the spotlight. But that's not to make a negative towards Subtract, because he is the man that put together these songs and gave us these instrumentals, which again, are just so legendary to me in the ways that they came through. Like I say, Hold On, Wildfire, Right Thing to Do. These tracks are produced by a god, an absolute god. And it's crazy to think that 10 years later, he's only dropped one album since this one. So he has 2 albums under his belt. The second one, I remember being a bit underwhelming compared to the debut. Might have to go back to that one at some point though to refresh my memory. But it is pretty sad to say that there are only 2 albums, because this guy should have been a megastar in the production world. He should have been a big name that was producing for all kinds of artists. And maybe he didn't want that, but we'll never know. We'll never know. He's, you know, he may have missed the boat, but he did not miss anything with this album. This is very good. So thank you for watching this a decade later. Hopefully you enjoyed what I had to say here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments of what you think of this album. If you think it's good, if you think it's bad, if you think it's great, whatever you think, let me know. Thank you for watching as always. Do have a good day. Subscribe if you have not already, please. Would love that. And goodbye.